Welcome to our next DC101 at home sesh. I'm looking forward to today's one. We've got Brent Smith of Shinedown joining us in just a few minutes. My name is Roche from DC101. Thank you very much for being a part of this DC101 at home session. This is an important one. Most of these sessions have been fun. We're going to have some fun in this conversation with Brent, but the band and Brent himself are doing so many fantastic things to help raise money during these really, really unusual times. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and we are going to, like I said, have a little fun. And I think let's see if we can get a connection and maybe talk to Brent. Oh, there he is, Brent Smith, Shinedown. Roche,
What's up?
you, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you? I like that shirt.
Oh, well, we'll talk about the shirt in a second. But that's a good jump-off point. I can't say I'm not a little disappointed that I'm talking to you and you have a shirt on. I'm a little disappointed. Usually I see Brent Smith on his Instagram. He's shirtless. Uh-oh.
Are we gonna go there today? I tell you what, I'll go halfway with you, but I'll add a little flair to it. All right. So
All right,
I'll
what do you
go
got?
shirtless. I got no problem with it. But
I know you don't.
I'm gonna go shirtless, but I'm gonna go shirtless, but with a jacket.
Oh, all right. All right.
Like this right here. Does that work?
I like that. And back in the day, we would button the bottom few buttons, but we'd still leave the cleavage out there hanging.
Yeah.
That's the
I got
move.
it right here, man. I'm out for the whole world. Here I am. Ain't nothing changed but my limp.
Look, I gotta tell you, man. And we've talked many times about fitness and the importance of fitness in both of our lives, and these times, and we're gonna come back to this message a lot in this conversation. But seeing people on the social media, their social networks, still doing and trying to make things as normal as possible is really, really important. And so I got to tell you, I'll make it a little fun because Brent Smith loves to be shirtless on his Instagram. But, you getting out there and encouraging people to sweat, encouraging people to get their heart rate up, it's been an inspiration to me. And so I thank you. Now the question is, how hard is it for you to maintain this kind of level of fitness that I know you have a standard to hold yourself up to when everything kind of is condensed into one spot?
Well, first of all, it's awesome to see you. Thanks for doing this today.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's been a minute since we had, some interaction with one another. But you look great, man, by the way. Just so you know, I hope you and your family are doing well and everybody at the station is doing good.
We are. Thank you very much.
As far as the dynamic of why it is so important to essentially move every day, like move. Like if you sit in one place for too long, you get stagnant. And human beings, that's exactly what we were meant to do. I think if you go back, millions and billions of years ago, I think we were running away from dinosaurs,
We were running a lot.
You know what I mean? It was like hunt, gather, hopefully you don't die, And so, it turns into like fight or flight. But no, man, on a serious tip, the element of fitness for me is like meditation. I follow an incredible individual. I know a lot of people know who he is. He was an amazing wrestler, still is a great wrestler, incredible movie star now, but it's Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. And he has a really, really cool way of explaining why the fitness is so crucial to him. It's his anchor. And if you don't follow The Rock, he has this saying, which is you have to find your anchor. And what that means is you have to find the thing in life on a daily basis that grounds you and allows you to be able to focus with the rest of your day. So it's very important to move, and it's very important to get your blood moving because you have to get oxygen to your brain, to your heart, to your lungs. And, it helps you focus. It gives you creativity. It helps you navigate. And for me personally, like when I wake up, I don't know if you're like me, but the first hour I'm up in the morning, I give that hour to myself. Like I don't look at social media. I don't do anything for that first hour. I get my coffee. I kind of sit and just, kind of reflect on what's getting ready to happen. And then once that hour is done, it's like, bang, let's go to work. And so just for what I do and how I keep myself up a lot of times, and that I am able to keep the schedule that I have, working out is a huge part of that. I mean, they've done studies, and I say they, the scientific community with, fitness and science, they're like, if you do 30 minutes every day of cardiovascular exercise, just 30 minutes every single day, you will prolong your life by up to a decade. Just by 30 minutes a day.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I just feel so much better, man, like after the workout, and I can focus, I can clear my head out, I can juggle all of the subject matter that I need to do, I can zig when I need to zag, I can focus on what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, stick to a plan, execute that plan, and I think it benefits everybody. There's some days that I wake up, I don't want to do it, but I do it anyway.
Well, that's the
I know
thing.
I'm gonna feel better afterwards.
I have found the best workouts are the ones that I rolled out of bed and I was like, nah, I'm not feeling it today. But then you kind of give yourself that little kick in the butt. You get through, and in the middle of that workout, everything switches, and you're like, you know what? I feel great because I did it even when I didn't want to do it.
Absolutely. And not to mention, too, like, with all the stress, obviously with what the entire world is facing right now more than ever, your physical fitness is crucial.
Yep.
Like, because not only are you making sure that you're keeping yourself healthy, but that fitness, it's not just physical, that's a mental fitness too.
Yep.
It's very difficult to navigate right now with certain people because this is such an alien lifestyle at the moment, because it's unlike anything that we've ever seen in our generation. So the thing that I would say is, it's interesting. I was speaking to a friend of mine a couple of days ago who's a medical professional, and he gave me a very, very good overview of what's going on just psychologically with people all over the world right now, and why being physical and working out on a daily basis is really important right now. We're in the midst of everyday fight or flight. And what fight or flight is, it's basically those chemicals gets released, like when you're in a situation where your life is threatened or you have to make quick decisions. And when fight or flight happens, these endorphins release in your mind and in your brain, and it runs through your entire body to focus you, give you adrenaline to get through whatever that kind of hairy situation is. But once you're through it, you have a calming effect that happens after that to let you know that you're okay and you're secure. But nobody is really, we're all in fight or flight, but we haven't hit that stage yet where there's a calming effect.
Yes.
Of like, okay, we're better, we're good. And that is going to cause an immense amount of stress, and that can really wreak havoc on your nervous system, your immune system, which is very important right now. You gotta have some kind of a release. And even if it's just 30 minutes a day, that's a release. And we
Amen,
need
brother.
more than anything.
And before we move on from the fitness thing, I'll give a tip, and then you get a tip on, because a lot of people are probably thinking to themselves, maybe I'm in an apartment and I don't even have a balcony. How am I gonna do that? And it's just as simple. And here's my one tip: you're binging Netflix, you're binging Hulu. When the episode ends, get up, do 20 air squats before you start the next episode, and boom! If you do 4 or 5 episodes, now you've done 80 air squats. You've got your heart rate up at least.
Yeah, same thing too, man. Like, I mean, even if you're watching a show on, regular network or what have you, in between the commercials, man, do 20 push-ups. You know what I mean? Or, do air squats and do some push-ups until the show comes back on. That's a good point. That's a good way of looking at it.
All right, so a couple people have asked in the chat, and thank you very much, everybody, for coming and hanging out with Roche from DC101, Brent Smith of Shinedown as part of DC101 at Home. We're going to talk about direct relief and all the work you guys are doing with them. It's fantastic, and the money you've raised so far is amazing, and I think this will be a good reset because you guys have been doing it for a month. But before we get into that, where are you? A couple of people have asked. Where you hold up? What town and what kind of living situation are you in right now?
So I'm actually in California. I'm in Ventura County, which is about 45 minutes outside of Los Angeles. The reason I'm here right now is because myself and Zach Myers, we are working on a double album for Smith & Myers right now. And before all of this kind of transpired, we were in a studio every day, and we weren't really paying attention to the outside world. We were just basically 12 hours a day working on music and putting stuff together. With this project, not to mention all the other elements of what we're doing with the Attention film and with Shinedown 7. and all these other elements of you know, the schedule that we keep, basically.
Yeah.
So long and the short of it, I didn't realize that this was real until I saw the news outlet. I can't remember exactly who it was, but once they canceled South by Southwest, I was like, what's going on?
Yep.
Because I was like, okay. Long story short, we started to look and see what was going on. I made sure that Zach was able to get out of Cali and get back to Memphis. And because we didn't really know what was going to happen. And lo and behold, it just started happening. The quarantine happened. First time I had heard, you know, the term social distancing, self-quarantine, all of those elements. So why I chose to stay here was really I needed to see what was going on, because I was kind of behind anyway, because we were in the studio working on material and I wasn't watching what had been unfolding. And so, yeah, I mean, right now I'm in California. I'm safe. Everybody in the band is safe. Everyone's healthy. We obviously we know some close people to us that have already had the virus. For the most part, everyone has had a full recovery. We have a couple of friends that actually had a couple of waves of it, which they got better, and then it actually came back. But they're better. But they're better now. Everybody's kind of on the upswing. So that's the good news. But overall, I felt like I could do more here and figuring out exactly what was going on and how to navigate it. And that's one of the reasons that I found Direct Relief, because I'm sure, like you, I didn't even know what a pandemic was. And so I'm going back, and I had to educate myself. And so if I walk it back to like 4 weeks, 5 weeks ago, the first thing I started to do was just research on the internet. What is COVID-19? What does coronavirus mean? What is a pandemic? What's going on right now? What is self-quarantine? What is social distancing? All of these elements. And as I'm studying this and figuring out exactly what's going on, I came across this organization called Direct Relief, which has actually been in existence since 1948.
Exactly, 48.
If people don't exactly know what this organization is, their sole mission, their purpose, is to get the medical community and the scientific community, the men and women that are on the ground during times of crisis, all of the resources that they need so that they can save as many lives as possible. Also to get the resources that they need to keep themselves healthy so that they continue to help the sick get better. So whether it's poverty, whether it's a natural disaster, whether it's a pandemic, that's where Direct Relief comes into action. They work with over 50 states. They're based in Santa Barbara, California, but they work with also 100 countries. And so right now they are round the clock. I mean, they just don't stop. And we reached out to them. We wanted to do this the right way because I'd never heard of the organization before.
Yep.
So long story short, we were able to reach out to them through a series of emails to finally get somebody there that we could talk to about what we wanted to do. And as I'm learning who they are, there was a song that popped up in my mind from back in the day. So there was a song called Atlas Falls that during the Amaryllis writing sessions for that record, we wrote the song, recorded it, mixed it, mastered it. It was gonna go on Amaryllis. For whatever reason, I can't really recall why it didn't go, but we write a lot of songs for records. Just because a song doesn't make it doesn't mean it's a bad song. Yeah. It just means it wasn't right for that time. I always felt like the song would see the light of day. Eventually, I didn't realize it was gonna be to this capacity. But ultimately, the song, we have released it, if you will, so that we can bring awareness to what Direct Relief is and why they are so important right now. And it's a song of optimism. We didn't change anything about this song from 8 years ago either. It's the same song today as it was 8 years ago. But it's definitely based off of, if you know anything about mythology, Atlas is the god of endurance. And Atlas picked a fight with the Titans back in the day, and he lost. And so Zeus basically said, well, you lost, you know, I might have to punish you. So he took the spear and the sphere represents the earth, basically. And he placed it on Atlas's shoulders to carry the weight of the world. And so the thought process was, well, what happens if Atlas gets tired? What happens if Atlas falls? Like, who helps him? We have to help him. You know, we have to unite. And it's not about just one person. It's about all of us. And, you know, together, I don't think that there's anything that as human beings that we can't accomplish. And because I've always thought that human beings, we are at our best when we need each other. So the reality is that we added the song with the idea of a shirt. Now the shirt is $50 and we know that's a lot of money, but ultimately why the song exists with the shirt is that if you go to shinedown.com and you go to the link, if you buy the shirt, it costs $5 to make the shirt. The rest of the money, 100% of the proceeds go directly to Direct Relief. I think we're close to, we just surpassed the $200,000 mark. And it's starting to ramp up again. There's kind of a second wave because international is now starting to become more involved with Direct Relief because they're working with European Council. They're working with Japan. They're working with Australia. I mean, it's very global what these men and women are doing here. And so when you buy the shirt, you get the song as a download. We are not allowing DSPs to have the song right now until after July 31st. If you're not familiar with what DSP is, I know you are, Roche, but that's streaming services. It's been tried. I understand people are trying to upload it, you know, to YouTube, but as soon as you upload it, it's encrypted, so it gets pulled down. So what we wanted to offer and ask for help in regards to radio, because we hold our fists very high for terrestrial radio, is to say, we give you total permission to play the song as long as you just let people know why the song exists, which, you know, you guys are doing an amazing job with that. But it's about Direct Relief because these men and women that are put on the front line. I know a lot of people are seeing this out there. You see a lot of the pictures of like the medical staff, these doctors, these nurses, these scientists and technicians, and like they're all kind of have, you know, the crest on them because they really are heroes, man. But they've always been heroes, but we need these individuals so much right now because they are doing everything in their power to make sure that they save as many lives as they can, man, including their own, so that they can continue to help people. That's why this is so important.
I think the beautiful thing about Direct Relief, as you mentioned, it supports the people supporting a crisis. And we see a lot of it, and it's people do fantastic work raising money for vaccines or cures or relief for the people who are suffering. But we don't often see about the people who are helping those people be as comfortable as possible while they are suffering. And this is, for me, I don't know about you, Brent, but this is the first time where we've really seen the medical workers on the front lines as like the people who are in need of the most assistance, because we don't have a vaccine for COVID-19 yet. This wasn't like Ebola, where you're like, you see the people who have Ebola and you're like, I want to raise money for people who have Ebola. But you don't think about the doctors and the medical workers who are there supporting those people. And that's why Direct Relief, when I started reading about it, thanks to you guys, was like, oh, this is fantastic.
Another thing too is that obviously what we're doing, and this was our hope, is that it starts to generate a conversation which gets people to finding out exactly who Direct Relief is. I know that Metallica just recently brought them up and are showing support. I know that Lady Gaga is now starting to show support to Direct Relief. Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, he's starting to show support also. So there's a lot of different people in the entertainment industry and what have you, but just overall starting to really look at, and there's a lot of fantastic organizations. I can't say that enough. We've worked with the Red Cross for many, many years. You know, we have an affection when it comes to, you know, cancer research, especially in children. We've been working with St. Jude's for, you know, the better part of almost 20 years. Zach Myers, our guitar player, he's been working with St. Jude's for 15 plus years. And so why we look at these situations, and when we look at what everybody is in at the moment. And what we're all in is we're in this together. This is not like one country or one isolated area. This is a global pandemic, and it is to be taken very seriously. I think that it was good earlier yesterday that there was a lighthouse kind of moment where they're starting to talk about the recoveries, not just in America, but globally. And the people that are recovering, that number is growing, and the infected is starting to get smaller in certain areas. Some people are behind a few weeks. Some countries are trying to play a little bit of catch up. But the fact remains, we are in this together. And the people that need the most resources right now and who we need to help the most really are the frontline healthcare workers and the scientists and the technicians that are at a rapid pace right now trying to get, at the moment, a legitimate treatment. Obviously, we need to get a vaccine, but that's going to take a minute. I think right now, the objective is to be educated, to give these men and women every single tool that we can possibly give them so that they can get everybody back to a place where, not where we kind of slow down, but they get it under control. We're just now kind of seeing them getting it under control. But now is a tough thing for human beings anyway. And it's the request of don't take your foot off the gas.
Yep.
And what that means, if you're paying attention, which I know a lot of you are, I know everybody wants to run out of their house right now and go back to work and go back to life. You got to hold on. You just got to hold on, because that same friend that was talking to me about fight or flight the other day, who's a medical professional, he said something very interesting to me, and it did give me, it kind of helped me calm down a little bit from that fight or flight and give me a bit of reassurance. But what he said was this. He said, all pandemics have one thing in common. And I was like, well, what's that? And he said, they all ended.
Oh, yeah.
And the reality is that it's up to us, though, when it ends. And then it's also up to us to be prepared so that nothing like this, of this magnitude, happens again. So that we can be prepared and we know how to handle it. And life will, look, we're going to get back to being around each other and living our lives. But I heard a lot of, and I think you know this too, everybody using the term, when are things going to get back to normal? Or is this the new normal? Normal is relative. And why I say that is we don't need to go back to normal. We need to learn from this so that we can educate each other, and also we can really instill a better quality of life for all of us. Because there's other things going on here too in the environment, just from a universal standpoint. I think that Mother Nature, in a way, she was kind of like, I'm going to need to put you in your room for a minute because you're trying to hurt me a little too much here, and I need a break from that. I know I have to be careful with my words when I say that, but I don't think that any of this is a fluke. I think that it's happening for a reason. It's a brutal situation, but you've got to learn from it. And I think what I'm seeing from people is that all the negativity that happens when people have an opinion is everybody wants their voice to be heard. We live in a society now with technology where everybody has a platform.
Yep.
You have a platform to either use it for good or use it for evil. And what I'm seeing from this, and I'm being totally honest, I am seeing just a massive amount of humanity and a massive amount of cooperation. New York City, a place where it's all about mass gathering. It's all about a lot of people, you know, doing their thing, working off that energy. And to ask a place like New York City to stay inside is a huge undertaking.
Yep.
But they have been selfless because of the people that are infected, and they're being given information to know that by staying inside, you are helping the situation. It's not going to be like this forever. But that in and of itself, and when beds were not readily available, ventilators weren't getting there because it was just the emergency rooms were filling up with people.
Yeah.
the governor and the mayor, and this has happened in a lot of cities, but especially like between California, Washington, and New York City, the government asks, please stay inside. You are saving people's lives by quarantining yourself right now. It's not going to be forever, but right now is the most crucial time in order to stop what could potentially be a death toll that is just horrible. And we're all collectively as human beings, we're being respectful of each other. We're listening to the professionals, and it's going down.
Yep, it's flat. The curve is flattening.
Yes.
We've had a number of people who have hit us up in the chat inside this Instagram live who are first responders who are expressing their thanks to you, Brent, for what you're doing to raise money. A couple of people asked, I already bought the single. Is there a way to donate to Direct Relief even more? And yes, directrelief.org. Right on the front page is the donate button. And of course, Shinedown.com. You can see the shirt that you'll be purchasing. Haven't shipped them yet. I figure you guys will do that a little bit down the road. But
they'll ship out the shirt. Working on May 31st, getting them out.
So there you go. They'll ship the shirt, and you'll have made the donation, and you'll get the song. The thing that I love, and I know that you are fully in agreement with this, is the fact that the musicians, the celebrities, the stars are coming off the stage, and in their place are these frontline medical healthcare workers that are now being put up on a platform where they should have been all along. I'm talking about healthcare workers along with teachers, where you're starting to see now, you know what? The people who are accustomed to being on stage are now turning the spotlight into the crowd and pulling up the medical workers and shining a spotlight on them, none more than you. And that's got to be, I know you get a certain amount of gratitude from that, from doing that for them.
Yeah, because they need the platform now more than ever, but also you have to think about the individual. And here's the thing, when you're looking at like doctors' offices or how they're having to make hospitals, literally they're having to construct hospitals to make sure that things are taken care of, and the protocol and everything that they're having to do. So when you think about a hospital, also you have to think about everybody involved in the hospital, from not only the technicians, the doctors and the nurses, but the people that bring patients food, the janitors that are putting themselves at risk by being in there as well, working with chemicals and trying to make sure that they get everything clean. There are so many things involved here where we're trying to stop the spread. And I know how everybody kind of feels a bit helpless, like, I just want to do more, I just want to do more. By acknowledging that these individuals, the EMTs, the first responders, obviously the doctors and the nurses, the scientific community that are talking to each other, not just here in the United States, but from a global platform. Everybody is working with each other right now to completely be on the same page with one another. It's very important, and even after this, for people to understand how valuable these men and women are to our survival. These minds that are trying to, we're entrusting in them our longevity as human beings. But with that, I cannot stress it enough, we have to learn from this. It can't just, it become eradicated and all of a sudden it just goes back to the way it was. And what I mean by that is, I'm not saying that there's going to be, I can't wait. There's going to be mass gatherings again. There's going to be big concerts. There's going to be stadiums and arenas filled with people for sports, for theater, for all of those elements. Because the one thing also about human beings is we love to see each other rise above. We love to see each other give us inspiration and show the perseverance of the human spirit. But you got to be smart. And you have to be respectful of people that are trying to do their job right now to make sure that we have a brighter future.
Yep. Amen to that. And to somebody who's just hit us up on the chat, shout out to all of the supply chain workers, from the delivery drivers to the grocery store workers. It's so interesting. Like, you go in and we're accustomed now to thanking military people when we run into them and say thank you for your service. But going grocery shopping now is a whole different experience than it was a month and a half ago. And I found myself, the few times that I have gone out and gone into a grocery store, whoever has checked me out, I'm like, hey, thank you for coming in today. I really appreciate it. And I didn't before. I got to be honest. I didn't before, but I do now, and I want them to know that.
Absolutely. Zach was actually telling me there's only a couple of grocery stores around the area where him and his wife and his boys are at that are open. And the other day he was in there with both of his boys, and just they're trying to like shop no more than like twice a week. They're trying like once right now just to kind of get in, get what they need. But there's a young man, you know, teenager, stocking the shelves, and Zach, you know, could see that, you know, he looked like he had been stocking shelves for, you know, hours and hours and hours and days. And he just looked, he was like, hey man, thank you so much for being here and helping us by, you know, putting what we need on these shelves. Like, you don't have to be here, man, and you're choosing to be here. And this was a young man, and he said that the young man just started to kind of tear up and looked at him and just, you know, started to cry, man, and just looked at Zach and was like, thank you, man. You know, that means a lot. I get emotional thinking about it right now, actually. It's, you forget about those. They're not little things. You know what I mean? They're in the big scope of everything. They're huge. And you're absolutely right. The people at grocery stores, the people at pharmacies right now, you know, and just trying to give the people that are at, you know, restaurants that would have, you know, been closed had they not kind of changed their way of doing things to where you could do takeout or you could do curbside, things like that. I mean, everybody is just trying to keep us healthy, safe, as calm as they possibly can. But there are so many people right now that are necessary, and once again, you know, they're putting their health at risk too right now to make sure that we can have a functionality of some sort.
And that's one thing I do hope we take from this and incorporate into our normal after this, is the thanking of those workers that you may walk by and just as you're pulling cereal off the shelf, not notice the person replacing that cereal box and just giving them a thank you. And hopefully we're still doing that in 2 years' time.
I think that we will. I really, really do. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing it. I know you very, very well. I know you're going to make sure that you're doing that. And you brought up another good point, man. Not to take any less attention off of these men and women, but 1000%, man, everybody in the military right now, from all the branches of the military that, you know, pardon my French, that are just kicking ass right now and doing everything that they can to give the medical and the scientific community what they need to be able to do what they need to do in regards to saving lives as well. But yeah, to the military, everybody out there risking their lives as well. You know, we're, like I said, man, we're all working together right now. It's actually extremely inspiring. Once again, like I said, I think human beings at our best, we are at our best when we need one another.
Let's talk a little music.
Sure.
You mentioned the song Atlas Falls, and I tried to tag it onto my Insta story to promote this. As you said, not available. Can't stream that. You can't stream that just yet. And I like that. You're doing it old school where it's like, you know what? Maybe turn on the radio. Maybe buy the song. We're not just gonna let you stream it just yet. Maybe down the road, but not just yet. My question, Brent. It must be nice, and I know you're gonna be all humble about it, but it must be nice to just be sitting on a banger like Atlas Falls for years and years, and then just go, oh yeah, you know what? I got this awesome song. Here you go. I was just sitting on it. No big deal. How does Atlas Falls fall through the cracks for so many years?
You know what? It's really interesting with that song. Of all the songs that were written during an album writing cycle and all of those sessions, I have always had that song kind of, in the back of my mind. I've always through the years tried to figure out a place where it did belong or where we could have a moment, because it's interesting because some people have said this does not sound like a B-side. Like,
no,
you know, this doesn't
this
sound
is a song.
Yeah, and that was always the interesting thing about the song in the first place, is that just a little bit of history for the Amaryllis album. We nicknamed that record The Kitchen Sink. Why we nicknamed it The Kitchen Sink is because we threw everything at it and the kitchen sink, because we wanted the record to be very cinematic. We wanted it to have a very epic, just like the whole album is very big. And so once again, a lot of the songs from that writing session through that album process of that particular record, Amaryllis, they all kind of had that. Once again, it was something where I remember writing that song and having the thought of, is it too big to where it might like go over people's heads, because it has such this grand epicness to it. I know some people are like, okay, Mr. You know,
he's too smart for everybody.
You know, it has nothing to do with that. What I actually had thought to myself with it is like, is this too much? You know what I mean? And you know, now I know that not only it's very interesting, man. When I was digging through and just educating myself on what all was going on, you know, 4 or 5 weeks ago, that song popped into my head pretty much instantaneously when I found out who Direct Relief was. And once again, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think that the universe was talking to me in some ways, because I think the universe is also talking to all of us in regards to, hey, are you going to stop being so hateful to one another now? Are you going to stop, like, if someone argues with you, that it has to turn into an argument just because there's two sides? You can't compromise, or at least let the other person have their say and go off of it from that. Are you going to stop killing one another now? And these are very, very hard subject. You know, it's a lot of heavy subject matter here.
Yep.
And the song is a literal, I think we're trying to let people know that optimism is an endangered species also nowadays. And, you know, just being optimistic can sometimes be dampened by, you know, what is happening in social media and what have you. Once again, the internet can be a powerful tool for good, or it can be a powerful tool for evil and hate. And we don't want that. You know what I mean? We want to be able to show that, you know, the existence of having this opportunity and having life and being able to share it with each other, that's a gift. You're not promised that. You know what I mean? How you live your life and how you treat other people, it affects the entire world. It affects all of us. And I think that song, it was its time. You know, it was its time to be heard.
And, you know, you talked about listening to the universe. And, I mean, literally, you sat on a song for years, knowing that it was a good song, not knowing where it fit. And then something like this happens and you listened and were like, this is what this song was written for. And you're right. Like, I was listening to it today as we're playing on DC101, and I'm like, he's talking about not being able to go outside. He's talking, like, there's things like where I'm like, it feels like a song, because, you know, we're getting a lot of music from a lot of different artists because they're just quarantined. It feels like a song you wrote the first few weeks, but it's like, nope, this song predates all of this.
And a lot of the lyrical content in the song, too, it's interesting how it does tie into what's going on right now, you know, using language like, you know, placebo and, you know, talking about, you know, the push is always part of us and gravity's never a friend, which ultimately means like we push and push and push, like instant gratification. I need to be, you know, now. And like gravity is never a friend, because at a certain point in time, when you run that hard, you're going to have an abrupt, you know, stop, and you're going to kind of be thrust to the ground, and you're going to have to look at what is actually going on around you. But on the other side of that too, if you look at the second chorus in the song, going into the bridge, you know, it says in a lot of ways, like in that bridge, it says, keep moving forward now, keep your head above the clouds. I'm right with you. I'll lift you. Just hold on. You know what I mean? There's a lot of symbolism in that I think people need that right now. I know I needed it.
Absolutely. And let's look ahead a little bit. How excited are you to not just get back on stage to perform live, but to perform this song, Atlas Falls, live, now knowing that what this song's place in the world is and in Shinedown lore is? How excited are you to go play that in front of people?
I think that we are, you know, as a band, we just want to get to it. We want to get
absolutely.
to that moment. We just want to get to that moment where we can not only play for people, but we can play this song and be able to see an audience filled with people that have their arms around each other. You know what I mean? That they're close to each other. Because I know that it will be a moment before everyone will feel 100% okay with, you know, being that close to each other. But then I started to think about that the other day, and I was like, I think that people need to be allowed to have their release when it's time also.
100%.
And that's the beautiful thing about music, man. There was a great philosopher named Friedrich Nietzsche who said one of my favorite quotes of all time, and that is, without music, life would be a mistake. And, you know, there's a lot in that. And I think more than anything, to our fan base, whether they've been there from day one or they're just kind of finding out who we are, maybe by what's going on right now with Atlas, to know this from us to them, our priority, always our priority, well before this pandemic, is our audience's safety. And we want them to come to Shinedown shows, because if you walked into a Shinedown show feeling down or feeling kind of just psychologically beaten up or maybe even physically beaten up, our goal is to every single time, to everybody in that audience, if you walked into a Shinedown show, our goal is to have you float out. You know, we want to give you encouragement. We want to give you a sense of optimism, not in the way of, like, you know, being pandering, because that's not what we do. It needs to be authentic. It needs to be genuine. It needs to be real. And in my heart, I know that that is exactly what Shinedown encompasses. Myself, Eric, Barry, and Zach, we put every ounce of our being into this band, and we have one boss, and it will always be the audience. They're the boss. And what we want people to know right now is we cannot wait to play for you. And we are so excited to give you the most amazing shows that you have ever seen in your life. When we are able to return to do that, we are never going to phone it in. We are always going to give you our absolute 100% best. And we just love you, and we want you to take care of yourself and take care of each other. And we are going to see each other again, and we are going to be together again. I know this is a difficult time, but we're going to get through it.
Couple more things before I let you go. But first, we were just talking about the song Atlas Falls from Shinedown, which you can buy and get a shirt and make a donation to Direct Relief, which is an organization that gathers supplies and gets supplies in the hands of medical workers, which is so important right now. Shinedown.com for the link to buy the song and get the shirt. If you just want to make a donation to Direct Relief, you can do that at directrelief.org. I also want to talk about this shirt in a minute or two, Brent.
A good thing, too, that you bring up about directrelief.org is absolutely, we understand that, you know, and it's one of the reasons why we're raising as much money as we are right now. The shirt is $50, $5 to make the shirt. The rest of the money, 100% of that goes to Direct Relief. But if you got $5, $10, even if you can spare, we know that there's a lot of people that have had to file for unemployment. They're trying to question what's going to be next for them, and we're very, very respectful of that. But you can directly go to directrelief.org if you've got $5, $10 even, and you can donate there as well.
Absolutely. So, Brent, I want to take anybody who's watching right now a little bit behind the scenes. I'm always fascinated about how the sausage is made, as far as how you decide where and when you are going to tour, and how the production is going to go.
Right.
How much of, obviously it's been a huge disruption. I'm thinking specifically our sister station in Tampa, 98 Rock Fest was happening. You guys were and are the headliners for that show. It was supposed to happen this week. Was the original date this Friday?
It was.
So the original date was this.
Yes. Yeah.
So the original date was this Friday. They've moved it back to Labor Day weekend. But even still, that's still in a gray area. But my question is, how difficult logistically is it to put these kind of events together and then to kind of move them and get all of the bands that were scheduled to play to move on those dates as well? How much of a process have you guys been going through trying to get what your lives are going to be like after this?
So that's a really valid question, a very important question. We are lucky enough that our booking agent is a gentleman by the name of Ron Opaleski. He's been with us for a very, very long time. He does all of our shows in the United States and in Canada. He saw this pretty early, even when the industry was kind of like, we're going to fight through this. It's not going to be as big as they say it's going to be. He just did not have a good feeling about that. So obviously, yeah, right now for the Deep Dive Tour and headlining some of the festivals that were encompassed in that this touring cycle was set for April and May. Yep. Right now, actually. And ultimately, what Ron did was we went in with all the promoters and he said, look, let's at least make sure we have a window later, that if we have to reschedule, let's go ahead and ensure that we have dates. So instead of just saying, hey, it was canceled, or hey, it's going to be rescheduled, we don't know what the dates are going to be. What we ultimately did through him, because he's just he looks at the big picture. He has for 20 years now with us. And he was able to get dates in August and September. So we were actually able to move our touring schedule to August and September, and we didn't have to cancel any shows. We only lost one show, but that promoter is actually going to do that show next year at the same time, which was supposed to be like right now is a different show. But getting all those bands, that especially when you're doing a show, if you're doing a weekend show and you got 3, so you got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it's under one promoter, you have all these bands because each day is a different headliner and all those bands. But it's early enough now too, and it's kind of in flux because the touring industry doesn't exactly know when it's going to kind of completely kick back up.
Correct.
We were able to reschedule our Deep Dive Tour with those shows and the festivals that we were headlining. Right now, I'm being very optimistic that we are going to be able to play those shows. But at the end of the day, we're never under any circumstances going to put our audience at risk. Well,
that's the thing.
But right now, man, I think it depends on what part of the country you're looking at and how they're going to maneuver that. As you know, if you're a big fan of the NFL, they're going to do the draft virtually, but they're still planning on the season.
Yep.
So I think that with all of these elements, you just have to get on it, man. I mean, for us, we were talking about it weeks ago, months ago now. And
well, and you have to
reschedule, we would reschedule.
You have to as well. And again, you think about whatever town you are in watching this right now, there's a venue that has bands like Shinedown who play all the time. And most of the times, these venues are booked 6 months in advance. So for you guys, I'm talking about Shinedown specifically, to be out in front and say, you know what, we're gonna do our rescheduling now, because guess what? We're gonna come to a point where we're gonna have a 3-month window where 9 months worth of bands are gonna want to play that one venue. And fun fact, there's not gonna be enough days for that venue for all these bands to come in. So for you guys to get out in front and say, you know what, let's do it now so that we have the pick of when we can jump back in is really, really a lot of foresight, because a lot of bands are going to be fighting for those dates once we're able to get back out and start playing again.
You bring up a good point, too. That's something that honestly right now is also being overlooked in the touring industry and just the live entertainment industry. And that's all of the crew members that put these shows on. Also, when you're talking about it from a local standpoint, all these venues, these stadiums, these arenas, these clubs, and what have you, you think of sporting events, it's the people that work concession. It's the people that park the cars. It's people that take the tickets, the ushers, and then from, the outfits, whether it's a, if it's a touring ensemble like a band, when we're doing the big show, it's usually anywhere between 11 buses and close to sometimes, in upwards of 10 to 11 trucks. And on top of that, when you look at the local side of things, like if we're doing an arena tour and there's more than like 2 bands, so it's a 4-band bill, or we're doing an amphitheater, which houses anywhere between 15,000 and 20,000 people, just on a daily schedule, we have 77 people that are on our roster that travel with us to every show, on top of 40 to 50 other locals. You can be looking at a day where there's close to 211 people that are being employed daily to put these shows on. And what we're also trying to do with a lot of the men and women in the workforce from the touring industry, we're trying to make sure that these men and women can get back to work safely as well. I don't know if people follow some of this. I know me and you do a little bit more. And for the life of me, I can't believe his name is skipping me this morning. But the president of Live Nation gave up his salary this year to make sure that his people got it. You know, that they didn't have to furlough everyone. And if they, you know, it's this. You know, the live industry is, it's not over, it's not done, but it's in a holding pattern because we don't exactly know when we're going to be able to, we have to be respectful of government. We have to be respectful of our surroundings in other countries, and they have to look at this in the same way with live entertainment. You still have to look at how the quarantine will be lifted in certain areas. You know, from restaurants, are they going to do half capacity in the very, very beginning and see, making sure the number stays down? When they do allow for the shows to happen, if the venue holds 10,000 people, are they going to say, okay, we know it holds 10,000 people, but in order to do this effectively and really be safe about it, we know it holds 10,000, but we may only be able to allow 5,000 tickets to make sure that in concurrent that the medical community is giving their research to them as well, to make sure that there's no new cases, to make sure that it's not spiking again. It's going to take a little bit of time. Doesn't mean it's going to take forever, but it's going to take it's going to take a bit of time. But yeah, we're trying to fundamentally make sure that our crew is taken care of during these times. And they get forgotten about, you know, with all these things that are going on. They have families too. And a lot of these men and women, they're freelance, you know, they don't have health insurance per se through certain people. And that's a big situation. I got to give a lot of credit to my guy, Michael Strickland, who is the owner of Bandit Lighting, who we've been with for over 18 years, one of the biggest lighting companies in the world. And, you know, his people, you know, they do have health insurance, and, you know, he is taking care of them. He's trying to look at the broad scope of everything. Same thing with our pyro company, Pyrotech, and Scott Dunlop, what he does, you know, with them, and, you know, with audio, Claire Audio, and what they're doing. They're trying to make sure that their workers are taken care of and everybody is in communication with each other, because we will get back up and running, but it's not going to be like overnight. And we're going to have to steadily get it to a place where everyone's comfortable. And then after we see that it's good, we can start to expand from there.
I want to wrap up on the shirts that you pointed out.
Shirtless.
I was just gonna point out because I forgot that you were shirtless, you know, and then I was like, wait a second.
They're like, is he not wearing a shirt?
Brent took off his shirt like 30 seconds into this Instagram live, put that jacket on, it's been there ever since. Now he's just wearing it.
I know. This is I'm gonna, you know what? I haven't worked out today. I'm just gonna go to the gym like this.
That's a look.
I know.
So I want to talk about the shirt, and I want to talk about you as a person, because we've got a lot of people in here, and we've told this story in DC a lot, but not throughout the world. But it was one of the more meaningful things that has ever happened to me. So I'm gonna put you on the spot in a minute, but. You know, the first time I saw you, and I don't know if I've ever told you the story. First time I saw you, not met, but saw you, was you played an event in DC at 930 Club. You played one of our Christmas shows. And to be perfectly real with you, you did not look healthy. And I watched you perform that night, and you literally just stood there and just went through the motions of doing the songs, and your hair was very long at that point, little greasy, and I remember looking at you from the stage, and I thought to myself, this guy's not going to be with us for the long haul. So to see where you are now from then is absolutely amazing, and full credit to you for taking that guy and turning into this guy. So thank you for being here is what I was leading up to.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
And so that leads to this, and it says Linkin Park on here, and a lot of people are probably confused. They're like, why does Roche keep showing a guy from Shinedown a Linkin Park shirt? But this is actually
I love that shirt.
Thank you. And
that shirt means a lot. I miss him every single day, as a lot of us do. But anyway, didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
No. I'm actually gonna give you the floor because after Chester died that year, that fall, we did a walk with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and we asked a number of artists and tour schedules and whatever. You and Zach said, no, we'll be there and we'll play, which I thought was fantastic. And then you walked. You did the entire walk with us, which I thought was incredible. So before I tell this story, tell me if you remember what went into you being there for that event right on the National Mall in Washington, D.C.
I think a lot of it had to do with it was and is a subject matter that we're very familiar with. Look, the reality is that when you talk about mental health, it's something that has been swept under the rug for many years because maybe it wasn't even considered at a certain point in time. Not to look at it like it's a disease of certain sorts, but that it does actually affect people, and there's some serious subject matters that are important right now that we need to talk to not only our young people about, but everyone about. And being at that very first one for me and Zach, and being able to experience what the walk was about, why it was so significant. At the time, James Howard, who was, essential in putting that together for us and really spearheading from the alternative radio standpoint, the song Get Up, and why Get Up was so important. And not only that, but you yourself, sir, and everything that you have, not only from when we started working with one another and we started to create and form a bond and a friendship, we wanted to be there, and we really wanted to understand what it felt like. And showing up that day, that first time, still to this day, it blew me away with just, once again, humans, we are at our best when we need one another. And that human spirit and people having to talk about a loved one that they lost, they themselves who had dealt with, trying to take their own life and not succeeding in it by the grace of God, and, that it wasn't their time, and finding a new lease on life, and also trying to let other people know, like, yo, if you feel like this, you're not alone, and you shouldn't feel ashamed, because it has nothing to do with that, you're off, or maybe you're different than everybody else. The reality is that I think that people sometimes feel like they're going to be embarrassed, they're going to be made fun of, because they need to talk about the fact that they're sad. And they're not sad like because they have a case of the Mondays. They're sad because there's something going on up here that they need to figure out, why it's happening. And instead of people contradicting them or making fun of them, they need to listen to them. They need to allow this person to explain why they feel the way that they do. You'll find that they're not trying to get this predisposed attention. They actually really, really need some help and somebody to go to, because they feel like they're completely alone. And what, the One More Light, what that shirt represents, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, what DC101 has done by acknowledging that this is real and it affects people, and in your own right, doing your part to save people's lives, by walking and going to this event, by bringing awareness to it. We wanted to be there and be a part of it. And every year that we can be a part of it, we will be there every year, with you and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, with DC101, right outside the Lincoln Memorial. And we will walk every single year that we're allowed to do it, to bring awareness to the fact that we need to take care of each other, and we need to not judge these individuals because.
Well, we had two people who love to talk, so we definitely went an hour. We went one full hour. And maybe Brent will come back. We'll see. When you have
That's the second time. Second time I've done this and I got shut down.
Brent, you know,
you were like, man, them dudes love to talk.
I just said you got two dudes who love to talk, and that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna pull the plug. Brent,
but I gotta say, man, before we go, just you know, we love you. We respect everything that you guys are doing. Thank you so much for having me today. Like I said, with DC101 and, you know, doing the walk, we're going to do it every single year. Thank you for giving us a platform to help you in regards to that. Go to Direct Relief and, you know, do what you can to support the medical and the scientific community during this pandemic so that we can be educated. And in the future, we, you know, are able to know how to handle these types of situations. And my God, man, I love DC101, and we just appreciate everything that you guys are. And we love you so much. We can't wait to be playing for everybody in the near future. And just thank you for all the support, man. It means a great deal to me. Thank you.
My name is Roche. That is Brent Smith. Direct Relief. Shirtless Brent Smith. DirectRelief.org to make a donation. If you want Atlas Falls, it's a fantastic song. You get a cool shirt with it as well, and you make a great donation. Do that. Shinedown.com. Thank you, sir. I will see you in the fall, my friend.
Absolutely. I love you, my brother. Thank you so much for everything. And be well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.
You do the same. Thank you, sir.
Much respect.